Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I, along with Aoife, who just spoke, are one of the pandemic intake. The contingent of scholars who launch like shooting stars, travel to the other side of the world, and then crash back down to Earth as we traveled all the way home again. It's hard to explain the devastation of that, particularly when we are also aware of the real casualties of COVID-19. When 75% of your budget is blown on travel that you never got to undertake, funds that you cannot get back or afford to replace, a Nuffield scholarship becomes a whole different proposition. I have also further complicated my Nuffield journey by becoming a mother. Raising and giving birth to 2 children over the last 4 years has eclipsed any other experience I could have undertaken. Let's be honest. It will likely continue to do that for the next 20 years. So here I am, a COVID casualty of the least serious kind, a woman emerging from the trenches of early motherhood, a professional with 16 years' experience working in agriculture, and this is what I have to say. I chose my topic, the position of farming in the public consciousness, because when I applied, it felt like our relationship with the public was in crisis. Veganism and the narratives of George Monbiot were gaining traction and on the rise. And many of us were genuinely shocked by marketing campaigns and Netflix documentaries that portrayed farming in a wholly negative and inflammatory light. And the growing prevalence and normalization of non-dairy milks and meat alternatives was causing real concern and anxiety within our industry. It felt like it was time to try and understand what was going on, what our role was in it all, and perhaps where we were going wrong. My observations were, when it comes to what the public seem to think and feel about farming, if it is negative, we have a tendency to be skeptical of what the public has to say. We are very quick to dismiss our customer. Partly due to the nature of rural life and the all-consuming demands of farming, we have a tendency to be insular. Day to day, farmers often don't think beyond their farm gate, and as an industry, we have a habit of echoing that by becoming absorbed in our own preoccupations. This doesn't promote an understanding of the vast majority of consumers who are urban and live very different lives. We have an innate conservatism and a strong instinct to preserve the status quo. Our ability to do the same thing day in, day out, year in, year out, generation after generation, fosters a culture that knows it needs to take care of what it has and be cautious about risking what is meant to be passed on. There are parts of our sector in slow decline, grappling with Charles Darwin's observation. It doesn't have to be so. We have a great opportunity to be amongst the most sustainable farming systems in the world. We have legitimate pride and passion in the quality and the diversity of our produce. And we have natural advantages and extensive farming systems that are aligned with the hopes and aspirations for consumers for what they choose to eat. But we need to be pragmatic about our landscape. Sadly, we do not have a food culture. France has a food culture, Italy has a food culture, Ireland has a food culture. Countless countries do. The United Kingdom does not. We have regions and communities with culinary traditions, but we do not have a shared food culture that we collectively buy into. The public are not willing to pay substantially more for their food. You probably aren't either. Again, there are countries where the norm is to spend more on their food shop than we do every week. There are countries where the norm is to cook from scratch and spend time together over meals. The UK isn't one of them. 1 second. This is what happens when you try and learn it off by heart. The degree to which farmers feed the world. The way the food system works now is a multifaceted and complex beast. Farmers are in no way at the head or the heart of that beast. We could argue that they should be, but understanding that they aren't is an important place to start. Our place is a unique and a special one because we come at the beginning. To sit at the source is an honor and a responsibility. Honoring that responsibility by listening to the public could be worth considering. So, I have 3 action-orientated recommendations for you today. The first is about change. It is about understanding that preserving the status quo isn't progress, and that we should all be careful about fighting hard to stay the same. Trust me, I have spent the last 4 years of my life in denial about my need to change. 2 little people have been quite insistent that I recognize there is no other option. So, my first call to action. What can you do in your business or your role right now to challenge the status quo? I don't mean change for change's sake. I do mean identifying what is being done for habit's sake. In Scotland, we call it, it's aye been. We mean it's always been this way. If that's the only answer that you can give or that someone else can give you when you ask why, push harder to find a real reason. If there isn't one, maybe it's time to experiment, to explore the options and find the flex, to play a little. It's aye been is a great way of staying the same, and I know a room full of Nuffield scholars is a room full of people who understand the need for change. Fittingly for this panel session, my next recommendation is about policy, and it comes in 2 parts. The first part. I would like to ask if anyone from Scottish Government is in the room. If there is, great, this one is for you. If there isn't, there should be. Make sure the policy makers of your host nation are in the room for next year. This may be a challenging listen for some, but it is not always positive for there to be a special relationship between government and industry. Scottish Government and Scottish ministers, be mindful of the need to set your sense of purpose and direction by saying no. Remember your duty is to the Scottish people, not a subset of that group, and understand that you are meant to lead. A close relationship with the most powerful farming lobbying group does not necessarily serve us well. Remember, we have already established preserving the status quo for its own sake is not a win. And the second part of my policy recommendation, and yes, I know it sounds thrilling, a database. There is a thin, porous blanket of material that lies between the Earth's crust and its atmosphere, which is the source of 95% of humanity's food. It is soil. For all our achievements as a species, we owe our existence to these few inches of soil. I am saying now, a meaningful difference could be made by investing in and using a soil carbon database. It is madness to pay farmers to do soil testing and do nothing with those results. A system has been built, use it. And lastly, a tangible call to action for us all to help build the food system we want and need. Feed yourself well. What we choose to eat directly informs the food and farming systems that it supports. Many of the individuals in this room are producers. All of us are consumers. Make the choice about what you choose to eat count. Make and take the time. Cook for your family and friends. Eat with them. Be conscious of what impact you have in those choices. Where is farming sitting in your consciousness when you shop, when you cook, when you sit down to eat? And lastly, as we draw to a close, I would like to add a final point. Farming was instrumental in the dawning of our civilization. My invitation to you is that we all listen a little more closely to the public in order to shape a future that they and all of our children want each and every one of us in. Thank you to Nuffield, to Ras, my sponsor, and to you all for listening.